Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, and mind the noise, in today's video, we have a special one. We're doing Destroy Sound 3, third installment of the Destroy Sound series, and the third and final one of Destroy Sound, because I will explain more in the end, but from Destroy Sound, we're going to go into sound creation, which will be a whole different series, but related in the same boat. So for today, we're doing Total Sonic Annihilation. Now, I use that title because it sounds very fun, very interesting, scary, deep, I don't know, whatever. But it's not clickbait at all. What we're going to do today is we're going to use a bunch of advanced sound techniques, sound editing techniques, to take one sound and turn it into another sound. And when I say turn it into another sound, I don't mean take a synth and turn it into a drum, though you could with these techniques. I'm saying that we're just destroying the ever-living shit out of a sound. We're using creative techniques to create other interesting sounds. But for this episode, I also want to go as far as I can with it, so we may reach the noise barrier. And what the noise barrier is essentially a point, and I think a musician's life, where they get into, modular synth, blips and bloops, and then they get to like the really crazy experimental stuff. So that's what we're going to do today. And then the next video, we'll start from the beginning with like a wavetable synth, and we'll start from there making the sounds themselves. But now we're going to start just with a sample, and we're going to do some crazy techniques, and we're going to create something amazing. So this video is going to be a little bit longer, and I'm not going to edit it because I just want the raw, sound coming through, no cuts, nothing like that. So I haven't planned too much ahead of time, specifically for the reason being that there's a lot of times when you go into projects like this and there is no plan. So you're going to just follow along with me, and you don't need to do exactly what I'm doing, because then you're just creating the same exact sound, but you could learn some techniques and a bunch of other little things. So let's get started here. I'm going to open up Ableton, and we're going to head over there. And here we go. Okay, so the first things first that we're going to do is we're going to pick our sample. This is our first sound, our first sample that we're going to start with. So I'm going to pick a sample in here because why not? But I think for the purposes, I'm going to just like do a scroll, and it will probably have a bunch of like drum sounds or whatever. So this sound is the one we're going to use. So now we have our sound. What next? Well, there's a few things we're going to do. For this episode, we're not going to use one sound. We're going to use multiple. And our first technique that we're going to use today to destroy sound is a technique where you create a bus. And if you don't know what a bus is, I'm going to make a full video in the future. But a bus is essentially a way to route audio from one channel, one track, to another track, a bus track. But if we set this track audio to in, and then let me remove this, and then we don't change any other settings here, but then we set the audio 2 for this hi-hat to be audio, and then the audio 2 for this one to be audio. Then when we play this, it'll be both of those sounds in one bus track. So now that we have this bus track with both these samples coming in it, and I have 2 samples, but you can do as many as you want. And the reason we're doing this bus track is so that instead of destroying a singular sound, we're combining 2 sounds to do some even crazier stuff. And because these audio 2s are not going to the master track, these are separate audio tracks. These are cut off, and only they pass through here, and that's how the sound comes out. So anything effects-wise we put on this channel, the sound will come out. Now, what we're going to do is a technique which I explained in another previous video called parallel processing. And this is the stuff that I've planned ahead. I knew I want to use a bus. I knew I want to parallel process. And later I will get into recording a sound out of MIDI and then, well, recording an audio track with all the effects on it and then chopping it up, and that'll be a later thing. But we're going to go into parallel processing, which, if you don't know what parallel processing is, take a look at that full video because it'll make more sense. But for our purposes, all that you need to know is parallel processing is a technique where you take an audio effect rack, and each effect you put on this rack is essentially a different channel. In a way, it's a different channel, but it's also just a copy of the sound being affected differently. So if an auto filter is on here, and then I play this sound, then what do you have? You just have nothing because it's just an auto filter. If I put a utility on top of that, then it'll be twice as loud because there's two sounds. Well, two effects, two lanes. But the reason we use parallel processing is so that each effect we put on here is a different variation of the signal. So I'm going to have a utility there so we can have the bass sound. But then we want to do some crazy stuff with parallel processing. And when you're doing parallel processing, you can also parallel process a parallel process. So you can do some crazy things. You can go as deep as you want, and there is no problems besides what your PC can handle. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to actually remove the utility because, again, we're trying to destroy sound, not keep the original. So what I'm thinking we start with is some reverb. So now if we do this, now it's reverbed. Now I'm going to just, honestly, move all these settings up. Why? Because I can. See how that sounds? Now there's no sound coming out because it's quite delayed. But it works. So now that we have this reverb sound, let's do something even crazier. And I feel like one thing we could do is some overdrive, bump that up. Then we could do some shifter. And these are currently not in the audio effect rack, but I could drag them into here and then they'll be part of the hybrid reverb track or channel or set of effects. But I'm just dragging them out so I can play around with some stuff. There we go. Now we got this hella reverb sound. I'm going to turn the reverb down back to its normal settings so there's no delay. Then I can add my own delay later on. There we go. So now that we have this overdrive shifted sound with the hybrid reverb, we have a bit of a reverbiness, a bit of a harsh distortion with the overdrive, and then we're shifting it down some semitones. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw an auto pan on there because why not? Auto pans are cool, and we're going to make it glitchy. So we do this, we set the phase, we set the rate to whatever we want. Then we do this. Now we have this auto pan on there, which is kind of fun. Kind of like it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying things, because all in all it comes down to experimentation, and there's no perfect science to it, but doing this allows us to get some experimentation down. And pardon the noise, there's construction going on downstairs. Next thing we're gonna do, let's use a beat repeat. Why not? There we go. It kind of sounds like a laser in a way. And then I'm going to add an echo. Why not? Cool. Spectral time, maybe. Who knows? Am I throwing random effects on there? Yes. Because, sometimes maybe you have an idea and you want to science it. And you're like, this really needs this thing or this thing. And that's great if you have that. But for this, I'm trying to make the sound as crazy as I can possibly get. Okay, I'm liking this so far. Now, I'm going to do some gated delay. See how that sounds? Put that in the channel. So now, for our purposes, let's throw a utility here. Let's mute the other channel. Now let's listen to what it sounded like before all the effects. Interesting. So you're saying it's a hi-hat and another hi-hat? I don't believe you. Now we got like this alien sound. Just perfect. So now what I'm going to do is not apply more effects. And instead, now we're going to record this. So if I arm this, I'm pretty sure I'm doing this right. And then I go here. I need to drag these out here. There we go. So now that I've recorded this, I can remove those, and I can drag this down to a new channel. Mute this. And if I click on this audio, we have all these effects. But it's doing some weird reverb thing. Okay, I don't know why that's happening. Give me a second here, folks. And also, I like having this unedited because you can see where I mess up and you can learn from my mistakes at the same time instead of me just cutting out all the mistakes and making it perfect. But what I'm trying to do here is just record this sample out. So it's recording it, but it's just not, it's not doing it right. Insert audio track. There we go. Okay, we got it to work. So now I didn't mean to remove that. We want to mute these guys so they're not doing anything. Now let's listen. This is the combined sound, so that's wrong. I got it. I know what to do. So we have another audio track, and we're going to undo that. We're going to do audio 2, audio 4. Then we're going to do this, monitor in. Then we'll record this. There we go, folks. Okay. Sorry about that taking a while. So now we can mute this. Now, of course, it's currently set to in. So if I set it to auto, it'll become the actual sample. Did I know that? No, but I had a feeling. Okay, so now that we have this sound, because this is destroy sound, I'm going to use destructive techniques, even though, in general, you should not. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to save this file. Typically, in music, you want to save everything, and sometimes I delete stuff if I make a new sound. But we'll save it for now, just so we can have the history of it all. We'll call this destroy. I cannot spell. Destroy 3. There we go. Okay. So now that we have this sample here, what's next? Well, I did say I want to chop things up, but I'm going to add some effects first. So let's drag this to the right size. This is kind of the reverb trail. And I think I want this to be even more glitchy. So let's do auto pan again with the glitch, with the stutter. Set the phase down. Even more rate. A little less. Yeah, there you go. So now that we have this, we can add stuff over top of it. So maybe we want like an amp, or not, because that might be too loud. A bit loud. I should have gave a loudness warning in the beginning. Saturator, why not? Okay, now we have this sample. Let's chop it. So what we're going to do here is, honestly, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. Audio track 5. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Master audio from, we don't need change. Audio 5. Switch this to here. Set this to in. So now the reason we're doing this is so that we are creating a new version of the sound each time, and it is also placing the audio effects on top of it. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is use a simpler to edit it with some sample editing. So go under instruments, and then you could do the simpler, or you could do the sampler, but we're going to do the simpler here. Then we're going to drag this sample in there, like this. So now if I press the key on my push to the right of me, you would get a sound if it's not soloed. Cool. Now we have this like atmospheric sound. And what we're going to do is set it to slice mode. And now it cuts it up. We're going to do this. This seems fine. But of course we could change the sensitivity to be less or more, or slice by beat, and then do, a larger division. But we're going to just do transients because that seems to cut it up nicely. Cool. Now we have this large sample, and what we're going to do is input a pattern here. So let's go 4 bars. Find a spot. And again, that spot has to be within the range of whatever the chops are, so it's going to take me a second there to find it. Go down. There we go. Okay. So now it doesn't matter what we're doing. Again, we're just destroying sound, so we're being kind of random, but also methodical at the same time. So maybe something like this. Okay, cool. Now with this thing. Now we can put some MIDI effects on it. So maybe, maybe there's an arpeggiator on it at the same time. Change the rate to be faster. That's funny because now that sounds like a different time signature. But it's working. Next, let's do some no echo, because why not? And again, we're just playing around with some settings. If I was doing this for like a song, I would play around with more of the settings like over here. But for the purposes of this video, I want to keep it short, but also not too short. So I'm kind of just speeding through a lot of this. And again, this is kind of like a conglomeration, like combining of all the other techniques I used in the last 2 videos. And it's less so like this video is like, oh, here's exactly what you do to reach this result. It's more so like, here's some cool stuff you can do with sound, and pick and choose what you like and then use it in your own world. So we have note echo now. Which sounds really cool. And now maybe we want some randomness to it, which will select another kind of random part of the sample. Could even do more randomness with less choices. But I don't really care about randomness right now. So let's do this. Maybe some no echo. I'm going to turn off echo. And maybe yeah, sounds interesting, but I don't care about that. Maybe I'll put in a chord in here, and then we can shift some stuff around randomly. See how that sounds? Maybe make these higher notes, not lower. Cool. Sounding more and more interesting. Now, let's see what else we could do. Well, maybe I'm like, this sounds cool. Maybe more audio effects. So let's do that. So let's go here. Let's do the same thing as before. In typical fashion, set the audio to the place you want. Set it to in. Go here. Then you can just record it. Go loud, go long enough to get good enough sample. And the reason I did it in here is just because it's convenient. But again, as always, you can record in there. It doesn't really matter because then I can just click and drag this sample to where I want it to be, which will be at the beginning. Boom. Now let's mute you. Make sure you're muted, and then solo you. Okay, I like this. Now it's a little too quiet because of all these effects we've done on it. So let's put a drum bus because it kind of sounds like a drum pattern in a way. What else? Obviously some reverb. Again, we could do something like that. What else? Well, let's try compression. And what we're going to do to make this compression even more interesting is now's the point where I'm going to try a little composing. A little bit. Not too much because the whole point is destroy sound. But this is just another technique you can do to do some crazy sound stuff. So I'm just going to input something, and I don't even need to hear it. It can be a stupid little thing, but the point being is we're going to do some parallel compression here. See how this sounds? Cool, whatever, I don't care. Now we're going to go in here, and we're going to mute this guy, and then we're going to set this to parallel sidechain compression, whatever, to be this. Cool. Perfect. Now let's add some color and drive. So maybe saturation. Cool. What next? I don't know. Throw another random thing on there. Rain delay. Try this. Kind of like this. Like right there. Then maybe spectral time. I don't know. All right. Cool. Sounds interesting. Now let's go back to the top and let's talk about what we did to finish this video off. So at the top we have two samples, and all we're doing with these two samples is routing them through an audio bus. I call it an audio bus, but people say vocal buses, drum buses, depending on what you're feeding through it. But all in all, it's a bus, and it's basically a way of just routing audio and applying a distortion, effects, whatever, to multiple samples at once. Me personally, I don't use it often because I can just do this, boom, group tracks, and then I can apply effects on the group. But if you have this bus, it is a little cleaner, so you can do it this way. And on the bus, we're using parallel compression. Technically, it's called parallel compression, but we're not doing anything in parallel. We just have one track with every single effect on it that we could possibly want. Then from there, we sent it to here, and that was just so we could record it out. And then we took that recording, which was here, and let's listen to that one. Oh, why is that not? Okay, it's not playing anything, but whatever. We had a sound, and then we took this sound here, and we applied some auto plan and some saturator on it. Then we recorded it again to be slightly different here. See if this works. Yeah. Then we took this sample, and what did we do? Well, we put it into a simpler here, and we cut it up, and we used an arpeggiator and a note length and a chord on it, so it sounds like this. I don't know why some of these are not making sound, but it had a sound. Then we took that sound and we went down here, and then we applied some effects to it by recording it out again. So now it's recorded out like effects, and then this channel is just for sidechain compression, just to show you a little bit of what that is. It is right here, and we're using compression sidechain from this. So if I like enabled this, for instance, and then played this sample, you can see it cuts in and out when I tell it to. And of course, if I change this out and then do like, or even a different, it doesn't really matter because this is just taking the input. So you get the idea. So in any case, what the point of this video is to take all the information we've learned from the last few and combine it into this sound. And we're just doing as much as humanly possible. Well, of course, not as much as humanly possible, because you could spend hours on this. But we're spending time. We're applying a bunch of samples. We're re-recording it. We're editing, yada, yada, yada. And we're making a completely different sound that doesn't even sound remotely close to what was originally there, which, as you remember, was this. Enable. Not playing. It was this. Also not playing. I have no clue why that's happening, but in any case, we create this weird sound. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go to face mode. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This one was around about 28 minutes, it says down there. And yeah, I hope this inspires you. I hope it gives you some information of some type. And I hope you can watch it and be like, I didn't know I could do that, or, you know, that's a kind of cool idea, or even if you want to take that sound and do exactly what I did, go for it. I'm not a stickler, but the point is just like a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of learning, and just a little bit of fun. Mainly fun, because, you know, it's really fun when you're just like messing the ever-living shit out of something in Ableton. So I will soon have a video, and I'll tell you the 2 videos that are currently planned. There will be one at some point about mixing, and in particular, it's about, you know, the end part of a song. So it won't be about like adding reverb and all that stuff. It's just about getting your levels right, which is the most mundane part of music production, but it's got to be talked about. So I'll do a video on that. And then we're going to do a video, Destroy Sound. That'll be another one in the series, but it won't be destroying anymore, and it will be creating sound, starting from Vital, which I'll probably show how to install it and everything, and then going all the way to just like adding effects and making it a more interesting sound. But that's for the future. Today, we finished today's video, and sorry again for any audio issues or non-editing or whatever. I plan to edit most of my videos, but some videos are just long enough where I don't want to spend the time watching them, and I also feel like it's better if you get the raw, me messing up stuff in Ableton. So, anyways, I love you guys so much. The support has been amazing on the channel. Consider subscribing if you want to, but no pressure, of course. Love to have you, and then join the Discord. Would love to talk to you guys just over Discord and send music that we like to each other and whatever. So yeah, love you guys. That's all I got. Bye.